don't want to walk away. Okay. Is that okay? Is it there?
Yeah, okay.
Everybody ready?
Brendan, all set?
Okay, good evening. Let's call the Almont Community School District Board of Education regular meeting to order at 7 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Sorry.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Walton, roll call please.
Mr. Wade.
Here.
Ms. Frederickson.
Here.
Mr. Burrow.
Here.
Mr. Gutierrez.
Here.
Mr. St. Ange. Absent. Mr. Walton here. Ms. Smith.
Here.
6 members.
Adoption of the agenda. Any additions or deletions, Mrs. Bond?
No, not at this time, no. Okay, we'll move on to communications. Student council, we do have our student representative here, Hannah Busson. Thank you for being here, Hannah.
Thank you. All right, so I got a bit of a short one because we haven't done very much this month yet. But for student council, on yesterday they sold hot chocolate, so we're raising money for student council. We haven't really decided what for yet, but we will probably donate the money. And then NHS is also selling candygrams this week. And again, we haven't decided what we're using that for, but we're probably going to donate it because it is the holiday season. And then for Rachel's Challenge, we had the cookie bake on December 11th or December 12th. And we raised $700, and we are donating that money to families in need for the holiday season. And then that's all. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work. Next up, we have Mr. Spear for our rate of recognition tonight. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Good evening, folks. Happy Wednesday. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time as I spotlight our student town halls that we've been having over at the high school. Mission and vision. So you are aware, last quarter marked our first ever town halls for grades 8 through 12. Town halls are an event that occurs once per quarter per grade level. So specifically, like 8th grade will come down as a class to this auditorium and spend a class period here where we will go over certain things that pertain to their grade level. The purpose of these town halls are to celebrate, to discuss, and to platform student voice. For example, some of the things that we celebrate are student achievement, like their grades. Specifically, we will do a grade breakdown of all of the grades for our core subjects by grade level. We don't use names or anything, but we will show students like, hey, here's the total amount of A's that are in 8th grade ELA for our 8th grade students. Here's the total amount of B's and C's. And we'll talk about those. We'll have discussions. Hey, what do you notice as students? What do you see? I'm really proud of you. So first quarter was a lot of celebration, but we discussed that, to temper our expectations because first quarter also handles a lot of review materials. So there's some things that we discussed like with students when it came to sharing their grades. Like, hey, very optimistic, very excited, but I want us to keep in mind is that things are going to get a little bit tougher. We also had student awards. So for quarter one, I sent out a survey 2 weeks before the town hall asking for students and staff to create categories. Best dresser, most likely to be a movie star, most dependable student, things like that. They would create these categories. They submitted them to us, and then 1 week before the town hall, I resent the survey out with those categories so that they could nominate their friends. And I allowed staff to participate too. So we had a great time. Students loved those, being able to see who got awarded their categories from both their peers and from staff. We discussed various topics such as behavior trends, like some vaping that have been occurring in the bathrooms. Again, nothing crazy, but enough for me to want to talk to students about it. Some bathroom vandalism has happened a couple of times this quarter. I wanted to make sure students were aware that we were aware, and some different steps that we were hoping folks to take to mitigate that rather. Etiquette and behavior during lunch, making sure that we're not going back into the academic wing, things that I've been hearing that we've been doing a lot less of, which I appreciate. Conduct with subs, making sure we're being mindful of them and how the important role that they play, making sure that our folks can get a day off and get done what they have to get done. And then updates, things that students may not have been aware of. We started a new hall pass system in lunch. I wanted to make sure students were aware that this is something we were rolling out for Q2. It's been very successful, but wanted to make sure they were prepared for that. The different courtyard usage we have out here. We have restricted a lot of use of the courtyard, but we're looking to try and introduce that back to students in new ways and kind of working with students to figure out a plan for that. Learning lunch is something that we've integrated here this quarter and beyond for students on Wednesdays who would like to do some studying or extra homework or just extra tutoring with teachers that have volunteered to give up some of their lunchtime on Wednesdays. It was very gracious of them, but I wanted students to be aware of that as a resource. Intervention team, which is something that is new to the high school, but I want students to be aware of it in case their name popped up or if they ever heard about it, if their parents got phone calls, things like this, new updates that were important that were changing in the quarter or that had happened that admins so rarely get an opportunity to address whole student body with. And then we platform student voice. So much like how we have this here, at the town hall, there was a mic that was positioned right here, and we kind of normed on some behavior. Students would come up, give their name, and talk about the subject they wanted to discuss, but it gave them that opportunity to address things and for Mr. Zimmerman and myself to respond to those things. For students who are not comfortable coming up here, we had in that survey I had sent out originally questions that students could ask anonymously, and as long as they were appropriate, we would address them here too. I'm proud to say that my students were very well behaved. They did not, not a lot of jokesters in those surveys, even though they were anonymous, so I appreciate that. But it was an extra layer of accountability and protection just in case something sneaky got slipped through. Topics that students did bring up were some interpersonal issues with teachers, and obviously if those were not appropriate, I asked them to hold and we would meet another time, but just some general frustrations that they were experiencing in the building, cafeteria food, state of the facilities, some bullying, harassment things that students may have experienced. And then the biggest one that really was insightful for me was like, how do we help? Like, what do we get to do? What do we do to help with that? And that actually sparked a greater discussion about like potentially a student voice committee, which I know that Mr. Fenton worked with y'all graciously to move that forward to for Schedule B. So I appreciate your help with that too, because that was born out of this town hall discussion, knowing that there was a need and a place for this type of thing came from them kind of coming up here and asking that question over and over again. How do we help? What can we do to get active? How'd we do? Well, we had about a fifth of the school body report to this survey, 135 responses from students across grades 8 through 12. Majority of students, which you see is that blue, voted highest possible remark there, like they really enjoyed the town halls. The other survey was how they liked the staff and student awards, and again, you see the blue is overwhelmingly like they really enjoyed it. There's actually, out of both of those, you would see one student out of all 135 said they did not like the town halls. All the rest of those are, it was super cool, I didn't like it, I didn't know if I'd like it at first, but I like it now, or it was okay. Like, that's the majority of all that. We had one student out of 135 who was like, nah, not for me. But I respect that. However, overall, I think we did really, really good with these initiatives, and I'm looking forward to next quarter because I already have students talking to me about it now. I released the survey on Sunday for when we get back from break to start having students nominate for this Q2, and I already had kids on Monday morning coming to my office being like, Mr. Spear, the survey is down. We can't do something. Like, they were right on it. They knew it wasn't active. I had to go make it like live and readjust it and send out an email that I had made it active, but that's how excited some of these students are about it. So I was happy about that. And then staff, I had a couple of staff who were curious about how this would look. They did kind of come in, and because it is open to them too to come see whenever they want. So they came in, popped in. I got a lot of positive feedback from staff too that were maybe skeptical about this type of thing before, but were believers after we were done, because again, you can kind of see the access that we're creating and avenues of access for students with admin and kind of talking with us about these types of things. For the future, for Q2, what we're looking at are a comparison of Q2 and Q1 grades by grade level. So, hey, this is where we were at Q1, this is where we're at Q2. How do we feel about that? Taking a deep dive into that. For Q2, instead of students awards, I've asked students to create awards for staff. And I'm proud to tell you that in 2 days, I already have 60 responses on my survey. So I'm hoping that they'll be pretty good and creative there. We're going to be talking about the Bronze, Silver, Gold Academic Awards for Semester 1. We'll be doing our Rate of Renown Citizenship Rewards, which is something that we started this year as well, a citizenship kind of contest or again, award that we had created this year. We'll have a further discussion about some behavior trends. Again, there's been a couple more instances of vandalism in the bathroom, which I'm not super happy about, but we'll discuss those. Some theft in our lockers. We got to make sure we're keeping our lockers locked, because when we leave our lockers open, things go missing sometimes. Digital citizenship and just being responsible about what we post online, what we send through text messages. We had a couple driving incidents in the lot, so I want to make sure we address that kind of and just the etiquette we have when we're driving in the high school lot. Yeah, and then utilizing extra credit opportunities and self-advocating. These are things that, again, students, teachers, folks bring to me as, hey, can we have these types of discussions? Or we notice the data points us towards these trends that we just try to want to get ahead of with students. Again, we are going to be talking about the timeline for the Student Voice Committee, because I've already had 9 students now come to me telling me that they want to get this off the ground. And then just their impact of their participation, and how maybe sometimes surveys can be tedious, but it's important to utilize the voice that they've been given. One day down the line, I would love for a established Student Voice Committee to help me run these town halls. I'd love for them to be up on stage talking with students about these types of issues and advocating, and just frankly, I think that students listen and respond best when their peers are the ones talking about these types of things. So I'd really like to empower students to help me with these going forward. But yeah, that's kind of what I got kicking around the fire for student town halls. So I have any questions? Yeah.
Thank you for presenting on this. I love all the incorporation with the students and getting their feedback and making them a part of the culture in the school.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Spear.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Yeah.
Keep up the excellent work.
Thank you.
Okay, this will bring us to our first questions and comments from the audience, and this is just anything that is pertaining to the agenda. Would anybody like to be recognized in the audience? There will be another opportunity later. Anybody on the board? Mr. Walton?
Ms. Smith, I move the Board of Education approve the consent agenda. A, approval of the minutes from the November 25, 2024 regular meeting. B, approval of the minutes from the December 10, 2024 work session. C, approval of the minutes from the December 10, 2024 special meeting.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried.
Mrs. Smith,
Mr. Wade?
I move the Board of Education approve the bills payable and the financial reports as proposed by administration and reviewed by the Finance Committee as follows. November 16th, 2024 through December 6th, 2024, general fund total, $388,616.78. School lunch fund, $9,434.08. Student activity fund, $32,823.11. 2014 sinking fund, $23,682.02. Subtotal, $454,555.99. ACH wire transactions, payroll, November 15th, ORS through November 29th, $743,914.60. Edu staff, $8,046.85. Health Equity HSA, $28,202.73. Credit card BMO, $19,531.77. Health insurance, $112,679.17. Total funds spent, $1,366,931.11. Check numbers and voided checks as listed below.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Please make sure you take a minute to acknowledge the Orchard Primary, the middle school, high school, and athletic student activity accounts. Mrs. Hotmeyer?
On to reports. Start with the high school from Mr. Spear. From the Almont Fine Arts Division, we've had several successes to share. First, we want to thank the band, choir, and the various clubs and teams that participated in the Holiday Parade on December 7th and brought a lot of joy to Almont. Next, we want to acknowledge the fantastic work from our 8th grade solo ensemble participants. All students who participated earned first or second division ratings, which earned them medals. Congratulations to them and Mr. Wetzel. Finally, we want to acknowledge Ms. Royster and the choir for their wonderful performance at the Lions Club on December 10th, bringing merriment and festive cheer to local senior citizens. Also on Friday, December 6th, a Special Olympics event took place at Hideaway Lanes. Though this event involved several schools, many of the volunteers at the event were Almont High School students, whether this was via Links, NHS, or another volunteer method. Mr. Spear went to the event himself and was impressed with not only our participants, but also with our incredible volunteers. Mr. Spear received a very positive email from a parent who attended the event and whose student does not attend Almont schools, but said some very complimentary things about our district and our students. So please make sure that you look in your report for some of those specifics, but thank you for sharing that, Mr. Spear. And also DCC, our district curriculum building level meetings concluded. I'm sorry, this is at the high school. This is part of the larger effort by building principals to create pathways of conversation initiatives around scope and sequence of curriculum, as well as any curriculum needs. Mr. Spear met with teachers from math, ELA, science, social studies, and special education departments. These meetings were incredibly insightful for the new administrator, Mr. Spear, and helped point out some needs for our departments as well as some goals for down the line. So you can check out that and some other upcoming events. Please check that out at your convenience. From Ms. Lewis from the middle school, Lapeer County Community Foundation's LEAF representatives facilitated a fun and informative education day for 4th and 5th grade students. Students will have their next deposit day on February 27th. Students and staff alike are sharing in the festivities with activities and spirit days as we head into the holiday season. Thank you to our amazing PTSO for their hard work and partnership with the school to acknowledge and celebrate our staff and students. Also, thank you to Mr. Wetzel and Mrs. Royster for their incredible work in leading the band Christmas concert and the holiday vocal concert. Their dedication and talent made the performances truly special and brought so much joy to everyone who attended. NWA map growth testing is coming in January. Once completed, teachers will dive into that data, use it to track student growth, and to tailor instruction and interventions to best support each student's individual needs. From Mr. Bruno, OP at the Orchard Primary here, they're having a great December as well. Teachers and students are gearing up for the holidays with lots of fun events. Report cards for the first trimester were sent to families on December 6th. We're very proud of our raters for starting the year strong and looking forward to seeing continued growth for the rest of the school year. A huge thank you to our PTO for hosting Santa Shop from December 9th to the 11th. Students had the opportunity to shop for gifts for their families and had a wonderful time doing so. Also grateful to our Raider reps who did a fantastic job of decorating the hallways with snowflakes and other holiday decorations. Raider reps also organized some very fun Friday Spirit Days, including a Christmas Icons Day, a holiday extravaganza dress up, and of course a PJ Day for the day before break. Thank you to Mrs. Cobb for organizing that group of students to do that. So again, spreading a lot of Christmas cheer, I guess, around our campus. And Mr. Bruno wanted to wish the Almont community a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Thank you.
Yeah. Checks right. Checks right. That's a lead. That was a typo.
Okay,
Sorry, yeah, that was a typo. Or
Okay.
should have been deleted, sorry. Moving on to contract update. The Board of Education approves the employment contracts of all personnel. We have many staff members that are not part of any collective bargaining agreements and thus have individual contracts with the Board of Education for duties to which they are assigned. The recommended compensation updates have been discussed, reviewed with the board. Any changes have been discussed with the Board of Education.
Mrs. Smith.
Mr. Ray.
I move the Board of Education approve the compensation package of the non-represented individual as discussed in the work session.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Moving on to sinking fund project approval. Policy 6320, purchasing. In the continuing efforts to improve our school district's facilities, requests for proposals were submitted for the following work. Purchases in a single transaction that are in excess of the dollar amount permitted by state statute shall require competitive bids and, whenever possible, have at least 3 such bids for substantiation of purchase and shall require approval of the board prior to purchase. So bids received on the OP windows. We had Tranco Glass, $99,360, and Midwest Commercial Construction, $133,242. The recommendation is Tranco Glass at $99,360.
Mrs. Smith.
Mr. Wade,
I move the Board of Education approve the recommendation to proceed with Tranquil Glass for the Orchard Primary Window Replacement Project.
Support.
any discussion?
Mrs.
Sorry,
Smith.
motion and support, any discussion?
Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith.
Yes, Mr. Wade.
Is this for concentrating on all the classrooms, or are we gonna do half
Mainly,
and half?
Mr. Frederick would say select windows at this point, the ones that have to be replaced, which is the majority of the classrooms. Yes, correct. The ones that can't, where they can't open the windows, yes.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Moving on to personnel, resignations. The Board of Education may agree to a resignation or retirement at any time after replacement, if necessary, suitable to the school administration the board has obtained, provided that the circumstances underlying the resignation or retirement are valid in the opinion of the board and warrant a search for replacement. Jerry Osco has resigned from her position as a GSRP preschool aide. Allison Beauchamp has resigned from her role as a mental health specialist at Almont High School for personal reasons. Discussed, recommended by committee, 3-0.
Mrs. Smith.
Mr. Burrow,
I move the Board of Education accepts the resignations of Jerry Liasco and Allison Beauchamp and thank them for their service and wish them well in the future.
Support.
motion and support, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Moving on to new hires, the Board of Education approves all personnel. Mr. Spear is pleased to recommend 2 new special education paraprofessionals. Mr. Luke Forty will be joining Almont High School in our CI room. Mr. Forty comes to us fresh out of student teaching and with a degree in education from Saginaw Valley State University. We are excited to welcome Mr. Forty to our team. Ms. Katie Ann Murphy is also joining Almont High School in our resource room. Ms. Murphy comes to us with over 10 years of experience working with youth in a variety of roles. Ms. Murphy is also an Almont High School graduate and is looking forward to returning to Almont High School in a support role for our students. Recommended by committee 3-0.
Mrs. Smith.
Mr. Burrow,
I move the Board of Education approve the hiring of John Forty and Kadian Murphy and welcome them to the district.
Support.
motion and support, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Moving on to high school part-time secretary. According to policy 3111, the board shall seek the advice of its administrative staff in creating a new position or increasing the number of professional staff members in an existing position, but the board reserves the right to act unilaterally. With the increased number of students at Almont High School, there's a need for an additional part-time secretary to help with the numerous office and building tasks. My recommendation is to support the high school with the creation of a new part-time secretary position, recommended by committee 3-0.
Mrs. Smith.
Mr. Burrow,
I move the Board of Education approve the creation of a new position for a part-time secretary at Almont High School.
Support.
motion and support, any discussion?
Mrs. Smith.
Mr. Burrow,
I would just like to thank the staff members that did come out and speak publicly and let us know about the need that was important for decision-making purposes, and I appreciate that. So, thank you.
any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Moving on to policy, the Almont High School handbook update. The Board of Education approves the student handbooks of each school. The policies and procedures contained in the handbooks serve as a guide for our students. By approving changes to the handbooks, the changes become a part of district policy. Mr. Spear has presented an update to the Almont High School handbook, recommended by committee 3-0.
Mrs. Smith.
Mr. Walton,
I move the Board of Education approve the recommended update to the Almont High School handbook.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Moving on to business and date of organizational meeting. Bylaw 0150 states the Board of Education shall organize annually, not earlier than January 1st, immediately following an election held on a November regular election date and not later than the second Monday in January, at a meeting held for that purpose. I'd like to suggest that we hold this meeting on Tuesday, January 7th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. And this will be held in the Almont Middle School Media Center. Recommended by committee 3-0.
Mrs. Smith,
Mr. Walton.
I move the Board of Education set the annual organizational date to Tuesday, January 7th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. This will bring us to our second questions and comments opportunity from the audience. If anybody would like to be recognized at this time. Okay.
Hey, everybody, real fast, just point of order. And again, thank you, everybody, so much for tonight. But just point of order, our candidate is Luke Forty. That is John Forty's son. I only mentioned because when you ratified to agree to hire him, you did ratify to agree to hire John Forty. That was why I had mentioned. There was just a slip up with the names. Just want to be clear for the record. And thank you again.
Anybody else in the audience like to be recognized? Okay. Nope. All right. Board of Education. Ms. Vaughn, I do have a letter of resignation for one of our members. This letter is being read on behalf of Mr. Tim St. Ange, and he wrote, Mrs. Smith, Almont Board of Education President, and Mrs. Von Heltmeyer, Almont Community Schools Superintendent. I hereby resign my seat on the Almont Community Schools Board of Education effective December 31st of 2024. It has been a pleasure working with many of you on the board, and I wish you all the best of luck in the future. Our district faces many difficult challenges, including aging, failing infrastructure, difficulty in staff retention due to a budget hampered by operating cost increases, and a lack of community support in our efforts to modernize the district and attract new families to Almont schools. I hope that moving forward, the community will support your efforts to provide Almont students with the education, staff, and modern facilities that they truly deserve. Regards, Timothy St. Ange. The next thing I would like to state is I would like to thank Mr. Dallas Walton for his service to the Almont Community Schools Board of Education. I know this is your last meeting, and your guidance over the years and everything that you've done has very, very much been appreciated. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I would just like to echo that with Mr. Walton serving on the board 8 years,
Total, yeah.
to 8 years total.
Broken up.
Just really would like to thank you for all of your service and looking out for just the entire community, school community, and even the larger community. Mr. Walton, thank you so much. I was very blessed to, come aboard and have you on the board, with, providing some of that guidance. So thank you, and we'll miss dearly.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, future agenda item. None at this time? Okay. We will be going to closed session.
Mrs. Smith,
Mr. Walton.
I move the Board of Education go into closed session at 7:29 p.m. for the superintendent's quarterly review.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion?
Mrs. Smith?
Yeah.
After the review, are we going to be coming back and having any type of motions made, or will there be just a closure after that?
There's no new business to my knowledge after.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
So you go to the bathroom. Meet at my office if you